Hey there, seekers and shapeshifters, healers and expanders. Welcome to the Embodied Spirit Uncensored. I'm Nicole D'Alessandro, and I am here to guide you through an in-depth experience like no other, channeled from higher wisdom through me directly to you. This is a place for those who dare to delve deeper, who crave transformation beyond the conventional, and who are ready to embrace the mystical union of science and spirit. Here at the Embodied Spirit, we don't just scratch the surface, we dive into the very depths of existence. Prepare to be challenged, to change, and to elevate into a new version of yourself. We're inviting you into an entirely new world, a realm that extends far beyond your physical being. So if you're ready to transform your understanding and awaken to your true spirit, you're in the right place. Let's embark on this profound journey together. Hello and welcome to Embodied Spirit Uncensored. I'm Nicole D'Alessandro, your host, and today, guess what? I am not using any script whatsoever. So let's see how that rolls out. Could be good, could be bad. Why am I not using a script? Because today we're talking about obstacles. You might refer to them as barriers or those fuckeries in life that get in your way. And I find that when I script, and I don't run off a script, I think I've said that before in another episode, but when I run off a script, it's an obstacle. It takes me away from trusting the deep embodied wisdom that comes from within, and that becomes an obstacle or a barrier. So in light of practicing what I preach, for use of a better word or statement, I am going to just let whatever comes out flows. And what I want to talk to you about is where we sometimes go a little bit off track or we tend to lose our direction in life. We get so consumed by the barriers or obstacles that are in our way that we lose sight of what's behind them, what's above them, what's around them, and why we are here on this earth. And I'll be using a few examples. However, just to set a little bit of this up, what I say to my clients, to you, is that if you have a vision and a mission that is so great, then the obstacle becomes irrelevant. And for me, the obstacle in and of itself is the path. It's about, you all hear that bloody saying, it's all about the journey, embrace the journey. And that's really fucking hard when there's obstacles being smashed all over you, or you're standing in front of a big black wall, or you're in the thick of a dark, deep well. And for the people that I work with, not only across the coaching space, but in the therapeutic space, sometimes we are so deep in our depression or in our stuckness, and all we can see are these walls, and that it can be very confronting. So I don't want to diminish or deny you of your very own reality or experience of what that's like. However, what I want to speak to is this constant discipline of softening into the deeper sense of self. What I've found is that the barriers that we create outside of ourselves are actually barriers that we've created. Therefore, the obstacles that are in our way are typically ourselves and the way we think about certain projections or experiences, people, relationships, family members. And the first thing is, coming back to those first few episodes around polarization, is understanding that your mind is constantly going to be in conflict, which is why we need to then find discipline to calm and quieten this space. I'm going to go off on a tangent. I'm going to come back. So I want to speak specifically today around some of the challenges that I have in the therapeutic space and the way we work with these obstacles, the risks that are involved from my own very personal experience, not only as a practitioner, but as a student of human development and as a person or a client in therapy. What I want to come to is, and I'll be focusing on addiction, probably first and foremost, because addiction can quite encompass a lot of different ways in which we show up in the world. So most of us might think about addiction as in drugs or alcohol or gambling. However, we can often be addicted to negative thinking, to martyr syndrome, always looking at poor me. I try to do everything for everybody else and not finding my voice in these boundaries. And why do I always get taken advantage of? There's an addiction to that. There's an addiction to spending our money on meaningless things to try and fill up an empty void inside of us. I meet a lot of people that are addicted to relationships or people, partners. So when I speak to addiction, I'm not specifically speaking to one quality of the addiction. So I'm not speaking to necessarily drugs or alcohol or gambling or all of those things that we might assume addiction relates to. I'm speaking to it more as an obstacle. So in the therapeutic space, a lot of therapists that I've come across or met like to stay in the drama. And this is a generic statement. I'm not saying all therapists do this, and this is why we get a bad rap. If we stay focused on the obstacle, the addiction, or the problem, we lose sight of the solution. We lose sight of all of the tools and skills that are available to us that we can implement to work towards something far greater. And I'm not also negating drug and alcohol clinics, rehab centres. I'm actually a very big advocate for those types of qualities in the therapeutic space, and drug and alcohol counsellors and addiction counsellors. However, what I sometimes struggle with is that there tends to be a lot of focus on the addiction itself and the behaviours related to the addiction, which often keeps us in the story, and it layers up shame and it layers up the focus of being in the obstacle. Again, I'm not saying this is across the board, but some of us sometimes get caught in that and we project. And in the therapeutic space, it's called countertransference. And what countertransference means is that I transfer my obstacles or my problems or my own earlier experiences onto the client, you. And what then happens is we become enmeshed in this problematic triangle where there's drama and there's a persecutor and there's an enabler and there's a fixer, and it's not helpful or conducive to change. And so as a practitioner, the first thing that I must do is bring awareness and bring that up to the surface. So make that unconscious part conscious. And there's the first expression of working with obstacles and then working around them. And not just as a therapist or practitioner, but as you, the person who is seeking coaching or seeking support, is awareness is key. So bringing about awareness in the way that you and the relationship to the obstacle, to the addiction, to the person that's supporting you through this to find the solution or a greater vision and mission, we want to bring about an awareness around the tools that we have, the ways in which we can create from the obstacle. And we also want to bring up in the therapeutic space how we're triggered or impacted by that relationship, the coaching relationship. And it's really important. And a good practitioner, for those of you looking for one, or if you're looking for a great coach, you want to be able to have a relationship with your support system that is built on trust and safety, whereby you don't just run when you feel uncomfortable in a session, or if they piss you off, you are able to have a really deep conversation around what it was that pissed you off, where the accountability lies, and that then allows us to work around the obstacles. So that's one component that's really important for me when we work with obstacles and in the therapeutic space. The other thing is the obstacle has a lot of rich, joyful expressions in it. There is a lot of learning in the obstacle. So maybe you could change the language around what the obstacle is, because we see obstacles, barriers and blocks and being in deep, dark holes as something bad. But there's also good in that. And if you can settle into this curiosity and reflective process, so that's the second clue. So I've given you bringing about awareness and having deep, rich conversations with safe people who aren't going to judge you, who aren't going to criticize you, who are reciprocal and mutual in the feedback, where they're able to take accountability. So that's one. And then reflection. Every day, being able to reflect, and it's a skill. And these skills I teach you. I will be giving you some little insights over the time that I speak to you. However, it's a process like anything, and you will hit obstacles, but we want to find joy in the obstacles through bringing about awareness, through deep reflection, through journaling, through opening your mind up. And that's a discipline through sitting in the silence, which is not often silent. There's chaos in there, but being able to discern and find these polar expressions. So finding the stories that you create, the sensations that come with that, the way in which your mind is programmed, and then considering how to reflect on that programming. And then we ask, does this serve me? Is it true? How would I know? Who could help me find out? How else can I look at this? What is this obstacle teaching me? So there is so much in this. When I come back to addiction, my greatest addiction was Jagman. Below that was alcohol and drugs. And I'm happy to say at the time I've recorded this, which is the 27th of September 2024, I'm 9 years sober. There have been little relapses into the drug side. So, a bit of weed and Dexies and things like that. And I'm coming from completely clean. And they are obstacles, but guess what? They're actually not. The obstacle's me. I'm the person that initiates reaching out and finding those things. So I'm happy to say that as of this date, I am 9 years sober, so no alcohol, and 12 months free of any drug whatsoever other than Panadol. And this last 10 months, which I'm not going to go into today, there have been numerous obstacles, deep, deep, hellish expressions of my very real reality and experience. And there have been times where I couldn't see my vision and mission. But because of the reflective practices and the level of awareness I've developed over my lifespan of being addicted to human development, I was able to be able to hold myself in those moments where I was in the black holes or in those obstacles and couldn't see anything else. And I trusted that that vision and mission was still there. So awareness, deep reflection, finding really trustworthy people that are not open to layering your shame, but allowing you to be in the depth of your shame, allowing you to be in despair, allowing you to be in the obstacle where you can't see any other way, but they can. So the most important thing is developing through your reflective awareness and bringing in these tools of curiosity, curious questioning, opening the mind up, sitting in mindfulness practices, sitting in flow state. Flow state is another way to shift and see obstacles as deep, beautiful opportunities. We want to be able to come to a place where deeply inside of us, there's this inherent knowing that we're here to expand and to be in the fullness of our expression. And that means that we are the ones that have to move out of the way of ourselves. So when my addictions were in the way and I was fixated on the addiction and Jagman, alcohol, drugs, and I kept layering up shame. Why can't I get this right? There was a tendency to look outside of myself to see the problem out there. And when you fixate on the problem, like I've said just in the recent discussion, is that you can't see anything else. And so I became so addicted to being good enough, to finding worth, to having someone love me in a way, shape or form that I wanted to be loved. And even when I focused on the addiction of drugs and alcohol, the shame around that and the guilt that came with it every time I relapsed meant that I would just go, fuck it. I'm a fucking failure. It's fucking worthless. There's no point to this. I may as well just do it. And then there would be other obstacles that would snowball. I'd start to develop a new truth. I'd go, oh, it's not that bad. I'll get it right next week. Oh, you only live once. You know, that beautiful YOLO, fuck it, right? So then there becomes more risk and more fixation on the obstacle. What I would love you to consider, and this is, if you're a client of mine, you would have heard us go through this process. It's a really simple process. Just to give you some indication that you are not your obstacle and that you are so much more than the obstacles that you create. And what I often do, it's a really simple, is you draw a flower. You draw the stem of the flower. I'm a really shit drawer, by the way. So I'm one of those people that draws the house, the square with the triangle roof and the, rectangle windows and the path and the tree and the fucking flowers and the little bits of grass. That's about the capacity that I've got to draw. But do you know what? It brings me actually great joy. So I get my clients to draw a flower. And think of the stem and the roots as your foundation. And a lot of us feel as though our obstacles come from our foundation. We look in the past, we blame everyone, we go, we've got trauma. We all have trauma, by the way, it's tension in the body. We feel as though that's a rite of passage to excuse our shitty behaviours, to excuse the way in which we behave in the world. And that's true, when we're hurt, we want to project that out. And again, it's not a place to judge, but it also is a place of responsibility where we want to own this, because otherwise the obstacles just keep coming. And they're always going to be there, by the way. So I might, again, be contradicting myself. You'll take what you need and leave the rest. And life is a contradiction. So coming back, so you draw your flowers, draw all the little roots that you can't see, all of the deep, rich, earthy, shitty expressions of having to feed yourself, having to learn how to crawl, screaming, shitting your pants, all of those things in the roots, and then carrying DNA and traumas from our own family. And our brain is already starting to develop based on our mum's expression of her life. So you can't always see, you can't see these roots because they're buried deep within us, and they're our unconscious mechanisms that drive most of our life. So draw this flower. You can see I'm a bit of a storyteller. Then draw the stem, and then draw the center of the flower. That beautiful center is your soul. So the stem and the roots are the foundation, the backbone of who you are. And then this beautiful part in the middle is the soul of who you are. And then draw as many petals around that flower as you can. Now, I don't know about you, but when I am not consciously aware in my day-to-day life, and I don't know the statistics on this right now, I'll probably have to go and do some research on this, but I'm going to say that even the best practitioners or the people that meditate all the time, and they are not in their full sense of presence every minute, every second of every day. Maybe if you're a monk, Buddhist meditating, maybe. Like I said, I'm just pulling this one out of my ass, but I'm just suggesting that we all slip into moments of unconscious, unaware states. So when I'm in my unaware state and I gaze at a flower, I'm not really looking at the whole picture. I'm not looking at the wholeness of that flower. I'm seeing the pretty colour, the smell maybe, and the aesthetics of it. I'm seeing the surface of the flower. And that's what happens often when we see obstacles. We're just seeing the surface of the obstacle. Now I want you to consider, you've drawn a flower, you've got all the petals. Those petals reflect all of your identities. They create your personal reality, your personality. But underneath that is something fundamental, the core of who you are, your light, your connection to universal life force, right? So all of these petals are all identities, and we have so many of them. And they've been constructed from the minute we were conceived. We've already been told by our mother, our father, grandparents, aunties, uncles, whoever comes into connection with your family members, they start to create your reality. They start to decide who you are. And then when you're born, you take on that reality. And then you go to school, you meet a teacher, then you see the principal, you make some friends, or you meet some bullies, or you go through life, and every exchange creates a new part of who you are. So all those little petals make us this really colourful, unique individual. Now colour in maybe 2 or 3 of those petals black. When you over-identify with an obstacle, a part of, a section, a person, a family, a group, a conditioned response to your life, and you only see those couple of petals and you don't see the wholeness of your reality as that whole flower and unique and of its own, you miss so much. So when you look at this flower, look at all those beautiful petals, look at all the colours that shaped you, and then think about that soul part deep within you that is the absolute catalyst for that flower to be able to bear any petals at all. And so maybe you try that. Maybe you just become curious about what obstacles are in your way. How do you perceive your obstacles? What do you do with them? Are you curious about them? Have you decided that that's that person is that and that's all they are? Have you decided that that job is fucked and everybody in us is shit and I've just got to get the hell out of here because it's shit? Have you become curious about what am I here to learn? How do I show up in this? Where am I partaking in this? What is my play in this relationship? In this perception of my reality? Where am I responsible? Where am I taking too much responsibility? Where are my boundaries in this? How do I shape shift around this? How do I learn to love the obstacle? That's a great one. How do I learn to embrace every obstacle that comes my way? And I'm going to guarantee you, if you are making 7 figures or money is your jam, you are trying to avoid tax, you are still in lack mentality. You are still seeing the problem rather than the solution. Little few seeds of information there for you to go and contemplate, and maybe you journal about it if you need any support or help or guidance in how to actually quieten the mind so you can get some of these answers. That's the first step to fucking off the obstacles. It's really the opposite. It's bringing them in and seeing the solutions on them. And then the next part is we want to be able to start to write down all of the qualities that make you you, all of the qualities that have helped you shift and move through obstacles. What foundation has it given you? What level of resilience have you got from it? And then you start to create a bit of a vision and a mission for something so grand that those obstacles are welcomed in, but you don't actually see them anymore because your eyes and your inner world is so deeply congruent with your vision and mission that those obstacles are simply a way through and a process to envelop so that you can actually continue to live into the most beautiful life. I'm going to leave you with that. I don't think I did so bad. What do you reckon? I'd love a review. Tell me, no, that was shit. Not crazy enough, not scripted enough, not scientific enough. I'd love to hear thoughts, but not if they're shit thoughts. And I want you to really sit and give yourself some time. And if there's too much fear or angst in the reality that you could be the biggest barrier of your life, and that's too confronting, or you don't feel safe enough to be able to look closely enough at the barriers and the obstacles in your life and own them, then you know where to find me. Until next time, please keep doing this work, keep unraveling, keep finding the discipline and the joy and the ability to reflect and to develop more of a deeper awareness of you, because I know without a doubt that you are amazing and that you have the capacity to live into whatever it is you are asking for in this world. You just have to see yourself as that beautiful whole flower, not just as the petals, not just as the part, not just as the roots and the conditioning that your family has given you, but the whole picture is what makes you so unique and so able to live into and bring to this beautiful world more abundance, more, I was going to say fucking love and light. I'm going to leave you with that, or I'm going to get myself in the shit right now. Full transparency today, a few little more explicit bombs of language. Stay batshit crazy, and I shall see you on our next episode. Thank you for joining us on The Embodied Spirit Uncensored. Today's journey may have ended, but your personal transformation has only just begun. So keep channeling the insights and energies from our episode. And as you move forward, remember, this podcast is for those who are not just living, but are seeking to live profoundly. Continue to explore, expand and evolve with us. Make sure to follow this series, connect with us on Instagram at Nicole D'Alessandro Perth, or visit www.nicoledalessandro.com.au for more transformative content. You can also find me on Facebook at Nicole D'Alessandro. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and more importantly, stay batshit crazy as you embody and explore beyond your current realm of existence. I'll see you later for now, and remember, this journey to embodying your spirit is the most significant journey you'll ever undertake.